I'm Janine, and I'm going to do a tutorial on how to cut your own bangs. I am not a cosmetologist, and I know that there are a lot of well-trained, licensed cosmetologists out there who are telling you do not cut your own bangs at home, but this is a pandemic. If you screw up, no one's going to know, I swear. Um, they are correct though when they say don't bleach your own hair at home. It will probably fall out. Also, if it doesn't fall out, it's just gonna look like junk. My best friend and I tried that when we were in our early 20s and it was not a good look. So let's get started on how to trim your own bangs. And before I get into this, I should say that I have been cutting my own bangs for I don't know, 10 years. I lost my awesome stylist and I was never able to find someone to cut my bangs again. So I'm kind of good at it. But if you feel hesitant at all, don't do it or don't care because no one's going to see it. All right. So to get started, you need the right tools. If you have a pair of scissors that looks like this, these are for sewing. Don't use those. If you have a pair of thread snips, because you also sew. I'm making medical masks, by the way, so I have all my stuff out. Anything that looks like that, don't use that either. Not even ones that are silver like this, even though they look like shears. Don't use these. These will not work. You do need a pair of actual shears. Shears are totally different kinds of, well, they're not scissors, they're shears. And they work differently. So make sure you have a pair of shears first, and they should be sharp. If they are not sharp, what you're going to do is you're going to end up actually like ripping your hair instead of cutting it, and that it's not going to look good. Ideally, you'd have two kinds of combs. I like one with like super fine teeth on one side and medium teeth, and then this one's a little bit bigger. It also has one of these cool ends on it, and that is how you separate your bangs. So I already dried my bangs, but what you want to start with, because I have really curly hair, so it takes a minute, is finding your bang shape. So I pulled back the rest of my hair. It's still wet from my shower, and I found my bang shape. Your bang shape might be different. You might have like less of an angle in your bangs. Your bangs might not be as deep as mine are, because mine come back pretty far. But now they're kind of funky because they were taken back. So what you want to start with is getting them nice and straight. And I'm totally knocking stuff over because I'm not a pro at this whole thing. All right, so you want to get them pretty darn straight. Even if you don't style your bangs straight, you want your bangs straight for this. So you can see mine have grown like to the point of no return. They're kind of miserable. So you've got your bang shape, and what you want to do is you can actually, you don't need to maintain that shape to do this. You can just go nice and straight across. And you want to do this in layers. You do not want to do all of it at the same time. That's also a bad idea, especially if you're like just doing this for the first time. And I'm also trying to do this, I'm gonna have to look away from the camera because I really don't want to mess it up. So twist back part of it and clip it out of the way. So I'm gonna be like kind of in the mirror, and hopefully you can tell what I'm doing. So what I'm starting with is just getting them to length a bit, and don't go too short. Remember, your bangs are straight, and nobody does like stick straight bangs. You don't want to end up with like Uma Thurman hair because that's going to look really dumb. So right now I'm just kind of starting. Now if you're left-handed, right-handed, whatever, like I have a slight angle on the side, and so I like to snip that in. I got this piece here that kind of got a little funky, but sort of used to this. And again, this is really hard on a camera. But the point is, you really don't want to go too far at this point. So when I hold them down now, they're still all the way down to like the bridge of my nose and all the way down like to my lower eyelashes. So that's where we kind of want to start. You don't want to go any farther than that. So I got to even this out a little bit. Now holding it with a comb, like what I was just doing, I'm going to try to do it in here. It's not going to work out very well. So we're going to do another layer, and I think you'll be able to tell better. So I always do mine in 3 layers, unless I'm super lazy. And clip your next layer back. Now make sure you're doing them kind of in even layers too, because remember you're cutting these to length, and so you don't want to like funky up your length there, because if you cut your top layer at the same time as your bottom layer, it's not right. Like a lot of people will hold their bangs out and just like right across the front. That doesn't work for home hair care. I don't know if that's how professionals do it or not, because I haven't had my done by a professional in a long time, but that's not how I do it. So again, I'm just holding them out and just kind of bringing them to length. And I'm going really small. Like you can tell my bangs are really long, but I'm not taking very much off. And that's really key. If you take too much off, you will so regret your life. Or you won't, because again, pandemic, who's gonna see them? So again, I'm just coming up a little bit at an angle on the outside, and I'm sorry if you can't see that very well. But now they're coming into shape. Like this is getting closer. And there's a reason that you're leaving them long, but we'll get to that in a second. So I'm taking my last layer. This one's been pinned up for a minute, so I am going to re-straighten it for a sec real quick. And then, again, you really can't tell with my hand in the way. This layer is like my thinnest, so I do like to hold that with like the really, really fine ones. And you can tell it's like super uneven here because my hair doesn't grow super straight, but also there's another reason for that. All right. So we're kind of, we're really long, but we're really even. Like that's what you want to start with. You want to start long and even. So again, I'm going to bring all my bangs together. Your flat iron is really important. I have really thick and coarse hair, so I actually still don't use a really high temperature. Now what I'm doing is I'm kind of like bending mine under a little bit, more like what I would have them be like if I was actually styling my bangs. So this is why you left them long. At this point, we're going to point cut. And so what that means is you're actually coming up into the ends of your hair. And this is actually going to take off quite a bit of length as you do this. And you want to do this pretty slowly. And again, doing this in a camera is probably dumb, but you know, who's going to see them? Again, pandemic. And keep combing it out. It's going to get in your eyes. It's fine. See, I almost messed up. See, if you point cut like this, you're going to have a really messed up zone. If you need to, and you need to pull like the sides of your bangs away, you can just clip those back so you don't accidentally catch that, because you really don't want to point cut there. Or at least not yet. Okay, again, I really need to like look in the mirror too. Never done this on a camera before or anything on a camera before. But I know that so many of you are like, oh my gosh, my bangs. So see how they're like getting quite a bit shorter. Like now you're starting to be able to see my eyes again, which is nice because that means I can see you or I can see other people. Oh wait, no, I can't see other people because it's a pandemic. We can't go outside. It's fine. All right. So we're going to keep point cutting and keep looking. Like don't just like go after your bangs like a crazy person and not look every now and then. You need to look at them. And again, like your flat iron is your friend. Like you really need a flat iron and shears. Like those are probably the two most important things. And a comb. It's 3 things. You need 3 things. Unless you have like stick straight hair and then maybe you don't. I don't know. That's not my life. All right. So I'm still on this side. You can tell it's still totally my eyes. So because I'm kind of like left and right handed, I'm going to come at this. I know, don't stab yourself in the eye. I feel like doing tutorials like this is dangerous. Because then you're teaching people to stab themselves in the eye. So you want to cut that. That's got to be at an angle. If it's not at an angle, you're going to look really Uma Thurman-y. Because then your bangs are just going to be like totally straight across. So, again, same thing over here. You're coming up kind of at an angle, but you know, don't stab yourself in the eye. Again, really important. And you're taking off tiny bits of hair every time. And then you keep combing it, you keep looking at it, and you decide, like, where are my bangs supposed to be? Like, are you the kind of person who has like really long bangs like I do? Or are you the kind of person who has really short bangs? But either way you do it, I mean, where I started and where I ended, I'm going to call this pretty good for pandemic bangs. And it took what, like 5 minutes or something? It's not that hard. I'm probably going to keep going with a few more point cuts just to like thin out like the edges or the ends, not the edges. I don't know anything about hair, by the way. Just because I like mine to be a little bit more fringed. So if you're that kind of person, you can get into with slightly more. Now, one of the important things I think to like notice is that I keep readjusting where my bangs are. And that's because what happens is when you do this, see how it like pulls these over toward the center? Now all of a sudden you've got crooked bangs. So I keep readjusting, and sometimes those finer teeth are what's gonna help you keep that nice and straight. So I do a slightly deeper point cut because I like my bangs to be pretty fringy. You might not, so don't do that if you don't like that look. This is where you can really mess up though. If you like take out, if you pull too much of your hair together and then you do a point cut, you're gonna have a literal V like in your bangs and it's gonna look ridiculous. Even in a pandemic, you don't wanna look at yourself like that. And if you have a significant other, they will definitely make fun of you. So don't do that. I luckily do not, well, not luckily, but I don't have a significant other to make fun of me. So if I screw this up, it's gonna be fine. But I have been doing this for a really long time, so hopefully I don't screw it up. All right, so at this point, I've got some really split pieces up here. And sometimes I will just clean those up a bit because my hair splits so easily. It's really breakable. So again, going back to my flat iron, make sure I haven't screwed anything up so bad. Now, I did not cut the rest of my hair. I leave that to professionals. But bangs, I mean, you got to be able to see what you're doing. And honestly, if you're not planning on growing out your bangs, it is a pain in the tail to keep having to pin them to the side or whatever. I mean, that's the point I had gotten to. And that's really just because I was lazy and not doing this. So, all right. So we barely took off any hair. And I think that's really key when you do cut your bangs is that you want to just focus on not cutting a ton of your hair off. Very, very little at a time. Don't just like straight cut across. And again, don't use inappropriate scissors because they will just rip your hair and they won't actually cut it. So good luck with your pandemic bangs, and I hope this helps someone who's really, really desperate to be able to see again. Bye.